Hello and welcome to Dice Punks, a tabletop role-playing podcast where we focus on playing full campaigns in less well-known systems. This week, preparations for a demonstration at PSS headquarters continue apace, and Ing has detected a mysterious presence outside his and Cal's apartment. Hello and welcome. I'm Adam, your friendly neighborhood game master, and joining me are...
Hi, I'm Drew, and I'll be playing Cato Burke, a.k.a. Hecate, a.k.a. person who just learned about a kind of fic that they wish they didn't know about.
Hello, I'm Robin, and I'll be playing Callisto Armitage, officer to most, revenant to some, and newly a leaker of information from PSS.
Hi, I'm Dez, and I'll be playing Burn, or Matchstick, who is now working with a cop.
Ooh. My name is Nick, and I will be playing Ing, an android. So I guess you can say that I put the ID in android, but I put the rest of the letters in too, because otherwise it's spelled wrong.
Excellent. Yeah. Thanks, players. Let's get right into it with our recap of last time, courtesy this time of Cato.
Last time, first thing, we all advanced as people. Like, I really felt my character grow, if you know what I mean. I don't. Then, we tried to secure the frontispiece after the recent attempted incursion. No laser grid. Burn was devastated. The thing is, though, Burn and Cal are just about working, if not together, then in the same direction, spending less time investigating each other, in any case. Unfortunately, meanwhile, Bronwee's place was somewhat breached by goons, and meanwhile, Apatia had slept over at Ing and Cal's place. Breakfast of molasses. Sounded delicious. Gorrister had been working on Cal's damaged arm, with an offer for a full replacement later on, maybe, and then, while I was working, a student activist came by. It seems that Salah Surhead and Nassim Nasri, two members of Slagpie, guess what they have in common that the other members might not, are being held on terrorism charges. Funny old thing. So the plan is to be really annoying about that fact and make it harder to make it stick. You know, protest. Max Broderick's shitty little organization, meanwhile, has apparently been trying to undermine any such progressions toward justice, which is cool and expected, and I also learned that there are Kumiko fics out there. We live in a fallen world, but at least it's rarely a boring one. Then, Cal got this all-caps text from Tupper. Apparently, the protest is going to be a riot. Must be scary to be a cop, renta or otherwise. So, we leaked the PSS communique. Fuck Tupper. Burn made sure that we made the leak as embarrassing as possible, and I made sure that the right folks on my side of the law saw it. You know, direct action. Ing, later on, saw that an event on spirituality and technology organized by #1file_Ossifer had been cancelled, and somewhat disappointed, entered a maintenance cycle, only to be awoken, in a manner of speaking, to a dark shape, very much literally, lurking outside their window.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that recap. That's exactly where we're going to pick up, Ing has come out of their maintenance cycle and detected this shape of something trying to conceal itself against, the carefully selected part of the background of the annoying and tacky mural outside of Ing's and Cal's window, and is quite a lot closer to the window than it is to the mural, meaning that it is hiding only from the point of view of your window, which is probably not comforting. So we left without giving Ing any time to react, making it rather manufactured cliffhanger, but now Ing has a chance to react.
I'm going to power on my drones, and I will leave them, though, in my room for the time being, but not behind a closed door, and gradually approach the window.
Okay. This is a strange question. How gradually?
Trying not to come across as a threat. It will be probably obvious that I've seen the figure, but if possible, I'd like to act as though I just happen to be going to look out the window for other reasons.
Okay. Nothing changes for your first couple of steps, but there really isn't that much space between where you were and where the window is. So, in the last half of your progress toward the window, there is, you perceive it this way, though you think maybe it would be different to human senses, a burst of cross-spectrum noise. In fact, your audio receptors barely pick up anything, but there is visible light, ultraviolet, there's radio and into the bandwidths used for things like Wi-Fi and wireless devices. It's very brief, definitely less than a second. But what it essentially does is turn everything in your perception outside of your window momentarily to what if fog could also be static.
Mm-hmm.
And then when that is over, whatever it was does not seem to be there anymore.
I turn quickly to the swarm and send them out. Although on the very heels of that, I do also tell Tran, would you like to go see what that was? Disobey at any time if you've got the capacity to.
Tran's behavior does not seem in any way distinct from how it would have been if you were undertaking this task a week ago.
Right.
Operates as part of the collective generally, and goes out to see what was up.
Meanwhile, I'd like to exit the building while my drones go out the window. I'd like to see if I can chase down what this thing might be.
All right. Yeah, so you head down and out. Your drones head just out. Get a roll from you here. First, I guess let's get a robotics roll for your drones. That's going to be clever plus robotics is +6.
That's 4 and a 4 for a total of 8 plus 6 is 14.
14, and doubles make it a critical. All right. So before I get into anything else, though, let's also get a straightforward quick roll from you. It's just going to be 2d6 plus 1.
That's going to be a 10 total.
Okay. So, you head out and sort of look around, and it's interesting because there isn't actually any lingering static or anything from this, but you're sort of sensors, sort of like if you blow out a microphone, you may get some residual distortion, on it, even once that noise is not that loud. That's kind of what you're seeing. There's almost like a, figuratively speaking, heat haze to some of your sensory bands when you look at this spot kind of up above and to one side of where your window is. Should say up above you and to one side of where your window is, not above the window. But the swarm has a little bit more to report. The air temperature in this area actually is a little bit warmer. It would appear that it also, whatever it was, distorted its appearance on like thermal imaging as well, with this, sort of like escape, like digital smoke bomb or whatever that it was using. And this leaves a short, indistinct, but detectable trail to the equipment of your swarm. It headed initially, and really it's only a couple of feet, but it headed sort of away from where you are on the street, seemingly over other walls and rooftops, kind of toward the other side of the block, when it fled. There's no particular evidence of it now, but you know what direction it initially went in.
Yeah, I'll do what I can to, have a brief but exciting foot chase. See if that goes anywhere, but...
Sure.
Yeah.
You do head in that direction. You don't have the luxury of going just directly over infrastructure and buildings, but you do get to sort of where it would have intersected pedestrian travelable surfaces. And this is a street that is not totally empty, but not heavily trafficked at this time of night. And, the thing that you observe is that if it had come this way, probably, there would not be quite so much just casual calm. It hasn't been that long. And it would have been leaping down from a roof or something, right? There would have been like a bit of a spectacle. So it either went totally over this street, or it found somewhere else to go before it made itself visible here.
Yeah. I do ask my drones to try to, chase, not over the normal walkable positions, but if they come up with nothing too, then my next 2 calls will be to, Apatia, or maybe just a text. Is Cal home or no?
I would assume so. This is quite small hours of the morning, so.
Oh yeah, I am asleep. Assuming that you did not make a lot of noise, I am out cold.
Yeah, you probably heard a lot of noise. Ing just booked it at a full sprint out the, place. I'm not sure whether he's wearing clothes or not, but he's an android, so I don't think that he really needs them. And probably, either left the door to slam open on its hinges or slammed it behind him.
Yeah, so I am currently standing in the apartment in my, old ratty t-shirt and worn flannels with my gun out looking around wildly.
What the window in the main room will be open, having let the drones out as well.
I am leaning out the window strategically to see what I can see too.
Then you will probably see Ing as he returns. The drones are not able to turn up anything in the sort of ambient noise of the city at night, and keep at it for a little while. They're not necessarily coming back with you, but yeah. So Cal, you'll probably see as Ing kind of like turns the corner around the block, coming back toward the building.
Yeah, I come in at a more reasonable pace. And we could recap, but I will fill Cal in on everything.
Sure.
So yeah, I didn't run into it. But the drones are still out, trying to catch up the trail. But I mean, it would say no idea, but could be a dreamer, could be something else. Got too many ideas, I suppose.
Would the fog, if static, remind me of anything on our list of dreamers?
Not really. It is the kind of thing that you would associate with them. having encountered them once,
Mm-hmm.
but no specific mention of them doing this type of thing.
They did have some audio countermeasures when I was trying to kind of track where they might have gone to once we backed off. So although this is a more broader spectrum, it does, like you said, it does seem like it fits.
Yeah, it's very plausible that this could have been a dreamer, but no specific information linking this phenomenon to a dreamer or the dreamers generally, just a pattern, that suggests it might be them.
Yeah. I'll call Apatia. If she doesn't pick up, then I'll leave a voicemail or text, whatever I think is most secure. But
okay. You call and she picks up on the second ring. She does not sound like she was asleep. No grogginess or anything. Says, "Hello, Ing?"
Yeah. Sorry to call so early, I suppose, but just wanted to give you the heads up that there was something that was lurking outside of the window of my the room at the apartment. Might be a dreamer, might be something entirely different, but since you were staying here the end of the night, could be that they were looking for you instead. So I figured I'd give you the heads up.
Oh, well, I'm glad you're okay, and I hope that I don't have anything to worry about, but I appreciate it, because who knows, Yeah. Everything is okay, right?
Oh yeah, everything's fine. Just stay safe, that's it. Sorry to bother you.
No, not at all. I guess I would say I hope you get some more sleep, but I know that's not exactly the thing. Anyway, yeah, I'll let you know if I see anything unusual, but good morning or good night, whichever.
All right. Yeah, see if you could get some shut-eye, I suppose. Catch up soon. Bye.
Toodles. And yeah, ends the call.
I'm going to put what happened in group chat. Of course, it has to start in the most dramatic way possible, which is the apartment is compromised. Followed up with the brief description of the pursuit, very sterile, almost like a incident report.
Immediately after you send that first message, the apartment is compromised. You get two texts or two responses in quick succession. One being, "I have a suggestion," and the second being a matchstick that is precisely like a still of my avatar, which is something I think only Hecate would really get.
Mhm.
Yeah. I do get it for the record, but that's not helpful in any way.
Once I finish outlining the incident report, I just respond with a question mark and then what's the suggestion?
Matches are generally used to light fires. I don't know if you know this.
I send just another. I send the confused emoji.
I do not respond further.
You get like the little 3 dots of me typing, and then it vanishes, and then it appears again, and then it vanishes a final time.
Same here. ... Could I ask for someone to elaborate or be clear? Would that be possible?
I mean, Cal did include a full
Incident report.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is all a little bit of a sideshow.
Sorry, by someone I meant you. So I take a look at the incident report. Not great. We're seeming to have a lot of breaches close together, which seems bad.
Yes, it seems someone has a profile on us that has at least informed them that we're working together, if not provided a very strong suspicion as such.
So, all right. 2 most urgent questions. Is there somewhere we can go where they won't find us, and who are they?
Well, that depends largely on the nature of Ing's breach. If a dreamer, then, well, no. But the breach for us seems very strongly PSS related, so, like, there are, again, multiple sets of forces at work.
Sure. More to be done about PSS goons than dreamers. But we shouldn't jump to
company
conclusions
accepted.
either. Well, of course. I said goons.
PSS wishes they had this tech.
Damn straight. So, the question is, actually, it occurs to me, can we find them before they keep fucking with us?
That sounds like the next course of action. I could recall the drones, or if they return empty-handed, so to speak, then could start from square one, and the trail might be a little bit cold right now, but dunno. Sorry, I guess I trailed out a little bit there. I don't know what to do next. This is Nick.
I Drew was visited by a mental image of the drones having hands.
Yes.
I mean, I was going to say something about engaging in some hand-wringing, but...
I just like the mental
Not sure.
image of the drones wearing those little hand things that are designed to stick on her fingers, along with like tiny little hand puppets on each of the tiny fingers.
Yes!
Sticky hands, monsters, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was just
Anyway.
thinking of, like, Mickey Mouse gloves.
Oh, that's somehow cursed.
Yeah,
welcome.
that is. It's hard to explain why that's worse, but it is much worse.
I mean, a swarm of AI drones with like little watch-spraying eyes and villainous mustaches and, you know,
Doing
little
jazz
fingers.
hands at you, yeah.
I send a text to the group chat after multiple dots pop up like I'm typing. I just send back 2 words: PSS HQ ?
It does seem to be the source of the trouble. Or, you know, a significant portion of it. What'd we ever do to them?
You once again see a flurry of me typing, but don't get a response.
Lion King GIF. Do you want the short list or the long?
I don't know how that comes through in text, but maybe you just hear it from the other room.
I was going to say...
It's implied.
Yeah.
Cato
I hear it from the
records
other room, and then I put the sound file into the chat.
Yeah. To be immortalized for all time. All right. Well, we should see what the drones come up with. What, if anything, right?
Mhm.
I mean, the less data blind we are here, the better. PSS is expecting a riot.
Mm-hmm.
Should
I'll
we
be in the
contend
office soon.
Sometimes it's nice when you get what you want.
Are you sending this in group chat, or is it?
Yeah,
just
I didn't do it. I was thinking out loud, but yeah, no.
Okay.
Pretend I did it in the Cato voice, and let's say I go ahead and say that.
There's a beat before I send back, and it's in really, like, I'm using the little black dot emoji to make bullet points because I'm clearly frustrated with the limitations of text and that it doesn't operate like a true word processor. And it's the first
PowerPoint
bullet
in
point.
text to when.
Yeah. The first bullet is get me called into Tupper's office. Won't be hard. And then the second one is get a backdoor to his computer or devices.
Now we're talking. Would we need physical access to the computer to do that? Because we might have it, if briefly and surreptitiously. Or would getting on the network be good enough? Probably a burn question.
You get the pointing finger emoji.
Thoughts, Adam, as to whether I would need access to the computer or just the network?
Probably not so much because of what you know about PSS, but because what you know about the other civic and corporate entities to which they are beholden. They will have any sort of high-level communication with Tupper isolated from the station network. Whether that will be on his more personal devices versus, something that you could get with physical access to his terminal in office just kind of depends almost equally on, the practical dimensions of which systems those are, the personal preferences of those involved, and where they were communicating before they set any of this up. It's just, not possible for you to guess without much more information than you'd reasonably have.
I convey that.
Exactly what you're needing to do. So, yeah.
So maybe better to track Tupper outside of PSS HQ.
Yeah.
Thumbs up emoji.
Also anything that can be done to just embarrass and or piss him off.
That seems remarkably easy.
Because the angrier he is, the less likely he is to be focused. He doesn't seem the sort to channel anger into productivity.
I'll reach out to Mr. Choi again.
Real quick, Burn, would you roll 2d6 and tell me what you get?
Yeah. Double threes. So, good or bad, it's sure something.
Mm-hmm. This will be something that occurs to you, as you're trying to fall asleep the next time that you are doing that. Rather than the middle of this conversation. So I guess just let me know when it should come up appropriately.
What time is it?
It's 1:30 a.m.
Oh, in 1 to 3 hours, depending on whether there are exciting things going on, or whether it's suggested that I need to be a vaguely functional gremlin in the morning.
Mm-hmm. But we can get through the rest of this conversation and then handle that. So, you've arrived at the expedient of maybe tracking and antagonizing Tupper, which does still seem to nominate Cal as your main kind of point of contact / a grievance vector. Anything else that you'd want to formulate before letting everybody, rest on it or get started on their various parts of the project?
I wrestle through some of the various Rubbermaid totes in the living area until I find one that has what appears to be, from the outside at least, a variety of random office supplies. And I produce 2 G-pole spirit flags and then a handful of thumbtacks, and I use them to cover the window.
Mm-hmm. Easy enough, and less of an eyesore than the
graffiti
Burger Kong Pride NFT advertisement graffiti mural corporate street art.
I pause briefly, surveying my work, and then after a moment of thought, also pull out a Post-it note and draw the middle finger emoji, or my best approximation of on it, and then affix that to the outside of one of the flags so that it's facing out the window.
Love that. It is perhaps not a precise representation of that particular emoji, but it is legible.
As long as it gets the spirit of the thing across, I am happy.
Intelligibility is the only rule, after all.
Mm-hmm.
How long has it been since I checked in with Bronwy? Because we had in kind of maintenance cycling, I lost track of time a bit.
It's probably been 4 or 5 hours.
Okay, I do check in again, just make sure she's all right, and that there has been no further escalation of goon incursion.
I mean, you don't get a response, but she's presumably asleep.
Cool.
Or, if she's not in trouble, she's definitely asleep because it's the middle of the night.
Yeah. I figured it wasn't inconceivable she was up, but fair enough.
1:30 is not the middle of the night.
It's almost precisely the middle of the night.
Says you.
Look, if the night is from sundown to sunup, then halfway between those points, 1:30 is pretty close most of the time.
Morning should not start at sunup. What the fuck, Adam?
I don't know what to tell you.
This isn't really a should thing. Yeah.
If there are any other, kind of conversational bits we want to hash out, that's fine. Otherwise, I'll assume that eventually everybody's, minds do sort of like spool back down, and we, try to get some rest in since, big day tomorrow and all that, at least potentially. And so, yeah, sometime I guess about maybe call it like 2:30, in the morning, Burn, you'll be sort of like starting to drift off, and then you'll have sort of like a little bit of like a bolt from the blue that you don't know whether or not Tupper is into crypto stuff, but it wouldn't be out of character.
Mm-hmm.
And if he is, and if he's on an NFT enabled blockchain, and if he keeps his like wallet apps and stuff on the device that he considers to be the most secure, then all you'd have to do is identify his wallet address and you could drop whatever you wanted into it. And like
I get out of bed, I get some caffeine, and I get to work.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's a good thing crypto wallets don't actually work that way in real life. That would be really fucked up.
I have terrible news.
It's
now,
only
of course,
terrible news if you're the possessor of the crypto wallet, not the person putting things in it.
Sure, or if you live in a society where there's a concerted push to convert, economic activity into blockchain stuff.
I mean, that's largely just so that certain felons in chief can further enrich themselves at the expense of the public.
Historically speaking,
you're not
that's
wrong.
Nothing to worry about, yeah.
In any case, the one limitation to this plan, of course, would be that in order for it to work, will require Tupper to notice the presence of the unfamiliar token and then interact with it. But, effort to potential payoff is still not a bad calculation there. If you could, the first thing you'll have to be able to do is to identify which wallet address or addresses belong to Tupper, which depends almost entirely on how incautious and how active he has been in crypto space and which platforms he's using. So this is probably the most laborious part. It's not exactly related to like hacking per se. It's just like publicly available information that you have to try to like collate. So let's get a clever roll from you to get this first step done.
This is just straight out research, really.
Mm-hmm.
Double fives.
All right, for a total of 13, and critical at that. So, I got to come up with a name here real quick. Tupper, you find out not super quickly, but more quickly than you thought you would be able to. Does almost all of his crypto trading through one of the major like wallet and like what is essentially money changing apps used on the station called MetaMark. And this can
Should have
interface
also
within
been a laundry joke.
laundry joke. You know, maybe if I have to come up with another one, I'll remember to do that.
So about
But,
wash trades, is this anything?
Yeah.
Exactly. So MetaMark is able to interface with quite a few blockchains, including the ones that are like NFT enabled, which helps you out. And while Tupper's account does not identify him directly, he didn't call it like PSS Boss 69 or something. He did register it using an email that is pretty easy to tie to him, kind of by looking at other accounts with that email and their activity. And you discover that he's got holdings, some modest, some tiny, nothing too huge, on a number of blockchains, including a few that can execute those little programlets that NFT stuff requires. So any one of these you will be able to, with a good enough hacking roll, you sort of interface with the wallet address and be able to plunk a program of your design. And now the challenge here is that these programs have to be teeny tiny
Sure.
in order to work, but that is a known factor from the moment you started doing this plan. And the good news is it won't really even require you to do any ghosting. There's no trail to be left here. It's not like you actually have to like interact with any systems. All you have to do is just make a token and then point it at the wallet, and any information you don't put in the token will not be present.
Wild.
So, if I could just get a hacking roll from you.
Sure. So that is an 11 becomes... God, where is my sheet? Why don't I have that open?
I believe it will become an 18 once everything is clever and both hacking and specialties.
Yes.
So, keeping the scale on which you have to operate here in mind, what would you like this token, if activated, to do?
Create a backdoor into his phone.
Okay. So ideally
so that I can
have
then
it
just clone the phone.
so have it interacting with his mobile OS.
Yeah.
All right. So fortunately for you, you have spent a lot of time recently interacting with mobile OS environments, like in that Terabyte Boy's phone, and in the case of the Terabyte Boys at the auction as well, way
And
back when
cows.
dinosaurs ruled the earth, and cows, actually. Yeah, good catch. And so you are chugging away at this for a goodly chunk of the remainder of the night, but there's only so much code to be generated, and once you've debugged it and checked it all over, you wrap it up in a fraudulent token, and you zap it into the most active of the NFT enabled wallets on Tupper's account, and chuckle to yourself for a little while, finishing your protein bar or energy drink or whatever was currently at hand, and basking for a moment in the self-satisfaction of a job well done.
And then I crash.
Yeah, everybody else I assume has been asleep, and Burn soon joins them. At the appointed times by you all, that is, we will get going with whatever you wish to accomplish prior to the demonstration getting going in earnest. I don't think we said it on air last time, but the plan is for the demonstration to really start as most of the day's classes at G-Pole end, so they can get the most student involvement. Not to say that there won't be people at PSSHQ earlier than that necessarily, just that the plan is that that's when they're really looking for, the numbers and the main activities and stuff that are supposed to catch attention, which gives you decent chunks of the day. Probably, Cal, you're going to be required to be around, if not actively present, then at least on call for the whole day. Kind of remains to be seen, given Tupper's, petty tyranny.
Tupperness.
Indeed, Tupperosity.
To parody.
Parody. I like that. Tuppertude. Because it kind of sounds like turpitude.
Moral turpitude, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. You saw my vision. So probably that means Cal
vocal warm up at one point.
Probably Cal, you will be needing to be awake and go in and by a certain time. Cato, of course, you have the business to run. But I leave it from there to you all, exactly what Thursday looks like, at least setting out.
Well, Cato at least wakes up to a note on his door.
A missive, perhaps.
This may be a full missive, yeah.
Yeah. So I consume the missive, which I would assume is you it's telling me of your great victory.
Yes, and it concludes with burn after reading.
But
it's spelled like my name.
Yeah. I do, and I text you a picture of some ashes in a dish, and then I tell the group the good news.
Would you? But what was the good news?
Turns out our guy is into crypto, which left him open to all manner of incursion, and it seems like we've incurred.
Amazing.
Yeah, it should help to get to the bottom of who's really pulling the strings.
It's so helpful that the people who do this kind of shit tend to be the stupidest people to ever walk the earth.
People that do this kind of shit that we know of. Further up the chain we go, I wouldn't be surprised if things get a little bit more difficult.
I think I would, but yeah, we shouldn't assume.
I do take the opportunity to send, as I'm getting ready, uniforming up and going through my morning rituals of trying not to punch the mirror. I send... Adam just made a face like a puppy.
You dropped that. So anyway, yeah.
I send our boy Brock Choi a text saying, "Meet soon. I have some information of interest on that individual we've spoken about."
It doesn't take very long for Choi to get back to you. His response is, "Then feel free to stop by the store," with a little leafy vegetable emoji at the end.
I once again send him, I respond with "on call today, but we'll drop by soon," and send the closest emoji I can find to bok choy, and then a ramen bowl.
I do rather like that. And he gives it a thumbs up react as well. I'm
also gonna send Ramirez a text and say more or less along the lines of, "Let me know of any avenues to get out of today. I don't want to involve the droid."
Ramirez also gets back to you pretty quickly and says, "I'll do my best, but," and then the big teeth grimacing emoji by way of explanation.
I just sent back heard.
For what it's worth, my keyboard at least does just have a bok choy emoji. So presumably you were able to send that one.
Excellent.
In the distant future of 2020, all keyboards have bok choy.
Bok choy.
Maybe there's a utopia after all.
Presumably Ramirez is, on the case, but feels dicily about his, possibilities of success.
Mm-hmm.
Would be your interpretation of his use of that particular emoji in that particular context. But yeah, you are scheduled to be on duty officially in sort of the afternoon, evening part of the shift scheduler. But yeah, everybody is essentially on call and expected to be, available. And probably if you had to guess, you'd get points with Tupper for being there off the clock, but that's not a Cal thing.
Yeah, I don't really care about Tupper points at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Or any point, if we're being completely honest.
So yeah, you are free to drop by Brock's greengrocer when you have the best opportunity, and presumably you hear back from Ramirez because you're on call and hey, his shop is in the neighborhood.
Yeah. I may try to swing by the shop before my shift. And of course, if I'm able to squeeze it in with everything else going on, I will send him due notice that plans have changed.
All right, so let's check in before we get into executing any plans here. Let's arbitrarily somewhat start by getting our intentions from Cato. You have a store to open, so presumably you wake up at a pretty predictable time.
Mm-hmm.
You
after
have a missive from
the
Bern.
missive has been torched, the good word has been distributed. I prepare to do the legitimate business that I love to do. I arrange things. I make sure that the poster that was set up outside is still looking good out there. I think I have a stack to distribute as well.
You do.
I get ready for business as usual.
Sure. And indeed, as usual, nobody is there right at opening. But you get some customers coming in. Most of them leave with a flyer. Will let you know if anything particularly noteworthy or unusual does happen to come up. Ing.
Yeah, well, I think first and foremost, I probably wouldn't have continued my my rest cycle, defrag cycle, until my drones were back. So did they come back last night?
They
or
did.
Am I sleep deprived and worried?
No, they did come back. Probably around about the time. Probably before the time that Bern was crashing. Your drones did come back. They made a fairly full sweep of the area. Unfortunately, they don't have a whole lot to report in the general direction that your mysterious shape was heading when you escaped from out front of your window. There are a number of ways in which it could have evaded street detection, and there's not really any remaining evidence of which basement entrance or alleyway or overwalk from one building to another over the street, or even just jumping. It could have gone dozens of different ways, and it didn't seem to leave much in the way of a trail. You are pretty sure that within half an hour of you having spotted it, it was not above ground anywhere in Selden District, based on your drone's scans. But it is, they were thorough. There just wasn't much to find.
Okay. I double check to see, that they're all in good working order. It seems like they're okay, and then continue my rest cycle. Wake up in the morning. I think that the first thing that I do is have a bit of a heart-to-heart with Tran.
Mhm.
So, I array all of the drones out on the desk. Tran is there at the forefront, but the rest are present as well. So I just say, well, Tran, it seems like there's a lot going on in day-to-day life, and there's not really a best way to have this conversation. I want to say first and foremost that, I acknowledge that I might just be talking to a non-sentient piece of machinery, but if my intuition is right, something happened down in those tunnels. You could be just a puppet for the dreamers, but I think it's at least possible that something quite extraordinary happened. And if you are able to lie, I can't help but wonder or even hope that means that there's some spark of intelligence, some genuine personhood that's been instilled into you. And if that's the case, I just want to let you know that whether you decide to stay or go your separate way, you have my full support. I'm not angry if it was you deceiving me, saying that everything's all clear with that, self-diagnostic that went much too quickly. I couldn't be more proud. And if you decide to go your separate way, that's fine. I know that you and your siblings have always been linked. As long as they're not sentient as well, as far as I'm concerned, you're welcome to leave with them. In any case, I just feel like that needed to be said. If you've got some way of independently communicating with me, have at it. I would love to have a conversation with you. But until then, I'll continue as though things are normal. But I just want to let you know that you're not my servant if you have some sentience. I hope that, in any case, that's what I needed to say.
You have enough sort of real-time feedback from your swarm that the sensory inputs from all of your drones, including Tran, reflect normal operation in terms of essentially looking at and listening to you, sort of getting your information. And all any of them do is log it, like they would any other observed information. The only thing that is any different between Tran and any of your other drones is that Tran's CPU load is like 7% higher. But there's no feedback, there's no communication, there's nothing particularly noteworthy other than that one relatively minor discrepancy, though it does draw your attention because it is consistent. At idle, Tran seems to be operating at a slightly heavier CPU load at present.
All right. And not for nothing, but I never really had considered that it would be possible for me to be a parent. And I'm not sure whether I would qualify, even if you were alive, but for what it's worth, nothing would make me more proud if I could be part of your life and help you in some way.
Yeah, no
Anyway.
particular response, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Or fortunately, depending on your perspective, I suppose.
Right. Well, on with the day then. Let's get to analyzing that data, shall we? I crack my knuckles, which I don't actually have.
Yeah.
You know,
I
I
do
feel like
the-
I make the motion of cracking knuckles,
Yeah.
but just make a cracking sound with my mouth.
That was kind of what I was thinking. Is you're like playing a knuckle cracking sound. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you dig in, and occupy yourself that way for a good little while. Let's see. We're gonna come around to burn in a short interval here, but we're gonna get started with Cal at
That seems to make better temporal sense. Yes.
yeah. We get over to Cal arriving at the greengrocer first, and hope that I can find Brock Choi's voice again. It's been a minute. So yeah, you arrive. The store hasn't been open all that long, but it looks pretty much exactly like it does any other time you've been by. Which is to say, open, stocked, no one in evidence. I mean, other than Choi.
Mm-hmm.
As you come in, he waves an asparagus at you, as he is currently in the process of sorting them, into sort of like prepackaged by weight clusters. So he waves at you with an asparagus.
Just one stock.
Just a single stalk like a wand.
Setting down the asparagus stalk, Brock Choi will turn his full attention to Cal and say, "Good morning, officer."
Call me Cal.
He gives you a sincere but sort of nevertheless crooked smile, as just sort of seems to be his default, and says, "Gladly. Call me Brock."
Will do. Even if I think it's not your true name. But that's neither here nor there.
True, and so many people have trouble pronouncing my name on my birth certificate, so I'm as much Brock as I am anyone else at this point. What can I do for you, Cal?
I think we have a shared interest. And so I'd like to give you some additional information on Lou Tupper in good faith.
I am certainly all ears.
I have prepared like another one of those thumb drives with the sort of documentation of what I believe to be his correspondence with the Terabyte Boys.
Mm-hmm.
Along with some other things that I had not yet furbished Brock with in that file as well.
Mm-hmm. He, somewhat incongruously, when he takes the thumb drive from you, he thanks you and then slots it into his point of sale. And there's a whirring noise as it boots into a virtual machine. And he begins to rifle quickly through the contents and oh wow, thank you. Some of the things you supply were things that I suspected or had hints of, but you always provide such concrete information, and I appreciate that.
I try.
What can I do for you in turn? Not that everything needs to be a transaction, but I assume this probably is.
I wouldn't want to say it's a transaction so much as a query into said shared interest.
He nods, sort of gesturing for you to continue.
I'm curious if you are gathering information on Lou for a client or for, let's call it a personal vendetta.
He makes a vague gesture with one hand and says, Nothing so dramatic as a vendetta, but I do sometimes furnish people with information on Tupper. Some people want to know, but a lot of the time I find it useful to have as much information as I can on the people who might come knocking, if you take my meaning.
Understood. I can do what I am able to prevent said people from coming knocking, as I think we've discussed in the past.
Mm-hmm. Indeed, and he kind of tips an invisible hat at you and says, indeed, I have had no knocks so far.
But I do have a keen interest on holding crooked folks accountable for what they've done.
He nods and picks up a particularly unworthy stalk of asparagus that has had some sort of damage done to it in the shipping process, and smiles, going, very much the same, and pitches it into the bin.
Good. I think we understand one another. I have a suspicion. Well, it's more than a suspicion at this point. Tupper has been lining his pockets with cartel cash in hopes of eventually selling PSS. I'm keen on seeing his house of cards topple.
Oh. He says this with a smile, but slightly exaggerated tone. He says, but, my dear Cal, that would potentially see your job go away.
Wouldn't it be the first time?
I can empathize. Well, I have frustratingly little solid information I can offer you compared to what you have brought me. But, well, if you're open to my own surmise from circumstantial evidence, among other things, in addition to actual solid information, then I have reason to believe, or suspect, perhaps is a better word, that Max Broderick, Event Horizon, the office on the edge of Selden District?
Regretfully.
Spoken like someone who's met the man.
More times than I care to admit.
It is not a secret that he is getting some of his operating funds from corporate benefactors. They tend to hide behind one or two shells, but it's widely known. However, I believe that he functions as something of a point of contact or distribution node for information and marching orders to other corporate aligned parties in Selden District and in Jeeple. He is more careful in this regard than, well, some law enforcers we could both name. But I suspect it to be the case that if someone like Tupper is getting instructions from larger entities, that, well, Broderick is probably involved with the chain of communication in some way.
Yes, Broderick is another on my list, so to speak.
Excellent. I will also add, and this is highly conjectural, I think that Jeeple, specifically more than Selden District, might be undergoing Law Zero scouting. I am not at liberty to share the information that leads me to believe this, but there's some inkling of increased underground android activity around campus and among students.
That aligns with my experiences as well.
He nods thoughtfully. Good to know. I don't want you to act on information I can't be sure of, but it would make sense for the uptick in IMX attention that Selden has been getting, as Law Zero is a particular bugbear of theirs, leaning into security technology as they do. I don't think it's too much of a hypothesis to say that IMX would love to take over GPOL security from PSS entirely, and Tupper would like to prevent this from happening until it is on favorable terms to him. Currently, I don't think he's getting a good asking price.
No, he's not, or he would have sprung for it already. Another thing to bear in mind, Brock, is I have some allies, friends, I suppose, that are increasingly getting swept up in Tupper's dragnet. So if there's ever an opportunity to make his life a little bit more difficult, or Broderick's for that matter, feel free to act on it, and then I'll owe you a favor.
I'm usually more of an observer, but if I see an opportunity, I will try to take it.
And I will continue to furbish you with the information I have.
Much obliged. Now, I'm of course happy to converse with you at any length you wish, but, well, these asparagus are very fresh, if you're interested.
I'll take you up on that.
Big grin, and he rings you up for, like, a pound of asparagus.
I have no idea what I'm going to do with a pound of asparagus, but it's clearly
Steam it, grill it. There are many opportunities.
You're talking to the queen of microwaved meals. Even the ramen comes out a little crispy.
Hey, I like both ramen and asparagus a little al dente.
Mm-hmm.
So, presumably this conversation winds down naturally and cordially, and you leave 1 pound of asparagus richer, among other things. Let's say that it is about at this time, let's say shortly before Cal is leaving the greengrocer, that an alert that you had set up burn, should your token get activated in Tupper's wallet, starts screeching from the devices that you set it on, alerting you that you now have, yes indeed, pay dirt. And I mean, you essentially wake up to a readout showing the progress of the information dump from Tupper's device to your specified receptacle. Whatever's on there, it's all yours within 5 minutes.
Lovely.
But it would seem that Tupper recognized that the token wasn't one that he was aware of, but nobody told him that all you should do if you see scam tokens is hide them, as he interacted with it to burn it, which of course required his app to interact with the code, and away to the races.
Once I complete the transfer of information, I scrub everything related to the token.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, doesn't actually take that much. Then
I suppose I get to reading.
All right. So I'm going to ask you to make a roll for me and tell me what you get. 2 dice.
That is an 8.
Okay. And
plus whatever mysterious things are going on your end.
I'm gonna make.
Well, at least it wasn't an oh ho ho.
Yeah.
So you begin to look through this information, and given that it's like essentially a clone of this mobile device, you've got apps and registries sort of as the most available thing, and it's desperately quotidian. Apparently Tupper plays a lot of this world's version of Candy Crush, but the sort of next little thing that you sift through is communications, emails, texts, calls, and he has a sub-signal level secure messaging app. So on the continuum between our worlds, like WhatsApp and Signal, it's like 2/3 of the way to Signal. Doesn't have a great reputation among actual security-minded folks, but has like a lot of features that even, onboard messaging apps don't have. And you've got all of it. And one of the things that immediately catches your eye, and I say immediately, this is probably the hour mark, of kind of getting into and sifting through all this when you are making this particular discovery. There is an attachment to one of these messages that is a video file.
I am looking at this all incidentally on like my secure
Oh,
clean
sure.
environment, obviously.
Yeah.
In case
that was
some
my
other
assumption.
chucklefuck has suborned the phone as well.
Mm-hmm. So you catch on this video file because it's one of the larger sort of non-app related files on this phone, and it's from a little while back, and it's also from a sender that is in Tupper's phone, anonymous. This is the only message from this sender, and it is accompanied by a message that just reads FYI. In watching this video footage, I use footage because it becomes very clear very quickly that this is body cam footage. And it shows what's pretty clearly a protest. And about 4 seconds into this body cam clip, this protest gets more and more turbulent. The wearer of the body cam in this footage is sort of both up close and personal, and you can hear the person's voice sort of issuing orders to other law enforcement around them that is pretty unambiguously advocating for escalation. It stops extremely abruptly right around the time that this particular camera's viewpoint is starting to get very kinetic.
Okay. I will flag that for sending to Cal, or rather downloading onto a USB drive and handing to Cal.
Okay. The other thing that sort of catches your eye from this, I guess it's kind of two things. The law enforcement in the body cam footage is not PSS, but the campus is very definitely Jeephole, right? Like the environment is recognizably Jeephole. So,
and when is this from?
That was the second bit. This is from a few years back. For our listeners, I am being vague because I am playing fast and loose with the timeline and the setting, not because, the information is unclear to burn. But it's from a few years back, and the details sort of the time and date in the video are present. And the scene makes it clear that this clash was between these members of law enforcement and mostly student protesters with signage about android rights. If it is helpful, it is footage from 2016, 4 years ago.
Okay.
Roughly. Not precisely.
Fun.
You do have the date.
Yeah.
If you wish to, sort of get
that's a
further
follow
into
up for
this.
later. Continuing on through the
Mhm.
contents of the phone, hopefully at least something communicative and or incriminating.
Sure. So there are some things that you very much expect to see. Unobfuscated communication with IMX representatives, basically confirming what, if not you personally, then members of the party will already have suspected about IMX leveraging the fallout from the auction and subsequent fire to lean on Tupper to hand over security contracts for Selden District and G-Pol to their automated services. Tupper compromising by, essentially giving them custom in the adoption of their security drones. In PSS's operations, him complaining about this in a number of cases. There are obfuscated communications with a couple of other parties that appear to confirm your theories about the Terabyte Boys receiving some instruction from Tupper and or associates, though this is circumstantial as they are smart enough not to name names in these messages of people or of organizations. There is conspicuously no mention of Law Zero. As they've been on your radar, they do not appear to be on Tupper's, at least from the contents of his phone.
That tracks.
After a little bit of a span spent with this, you harbor a suspicion that one of the anonymous sets of communication is in fact with Max Broderick, because there is a non-anonymous conversation labeled Max Broderick, and the messaging habits are very similar between these two.
Mm-hmm.
The non-anonymous communication is mostly Broderick complaining about security and damages to his establishment, and the anonymous ones with who you suspect is Max Broderick are frustratingly intelligently vague references to expectations and hopes for how this or that might be handled, and most of it's just what's the word I'm looking for here, minor league stuff.
Is there any mention of Cal or of the Frontispiece?
So, good questions both. There are no direct mentions of either, though you do find several communiques mentioning Revenant, but nothing that seems to link Cal and Revenant on Tupper's phone. Where the Frontispiece is concerned, you have to do a little bit of reading between the lines, as there is some care taken here, but it seems like their suspicions, at least as far as Tupper is talked to or talking to about them, come down to it's a place we have not successfully checked to our satisfaction post auction, and so is pretty high on the list for like potential dens of criminality. And this is, again, sort of filling in some blanks from your own knowledge why the Terabyte Boy eventually showed up. The gold that you do strike is that you do in fact find on Tupper's phone the corollary view to the PSST conversation on the Terabyte Boy's phone. This was all done very circuitously, but you essentially have concrete evidence now of Tupper giving orders to a Terabyte Boy, not to the whole organization, but this particular one he had some dirt on and was basically like, we will drop charges if you do this. And so the Terabyte Boy tried to do it. No further communication since then. Unfortunately, between you and Gorister, you foiled that Terabyte Boy's plans. It
rather electrically.
It at the very least does not imply by itself broader collusion between PSS and the Terabyte Boys. But
it just implies that Chucklefuck is willing to blackmail people.
Indeed, and it doesn't
Big
rule
surprise.
out broader cooperation.
No surprise, but proof of criminality is always nice.
Handy.
Indeed.
I heard you like blackmail.
There is, I suppose, in the, let's say, 90-ish minutes after you get access to this. Actually, you know what? I am going to have you make a roll.
Okay.
Roll clever for me.
Sure. That is a 9 becomes 12.
12. Okay. There is a non sequitur in some of what you suspect are the like off the books conversations with Brodrig that catches your eye, because your first thought is that they must be talking about Law Zero, but in context that doesn't make any sense. But Brodrig has at one point in sort of a lowercase a argument with Tupper, if indeed this message set is from Brodrig, but you're pretty sure it's from Brodrig, has said, yeah, it puts you at a disadvantage, but remember Zero. And Tupper falls into line afterwards. With that clever roll, what happens is this kind of pings on something. In your sifting through information about PSS in connection with your investigations into Cal, you actually remember coming across somebody named Zero. And you're sort of not thinking about it actively, continuing to comb through the contents of the phone, but in the way that things sometimes do come together, some things do kind of come together as you start painting a broader picture here. G-Pol took over for a previous campus police outfit in late 2016. And when you go track it back, you find that this was after the previous organization had run into a lot of trouble following the death of a student protester. And so PSS was brought in after that incident and, sort of took over campus security. And the Zero connection here is that the student who died was named Matthias 0.
Can I do a voice comparison between that video file and Tupper's voice?
You have to go looking around. But you do find some, sort of public recordings of Tupper's voice, and it is a pretty close match for the wearer of that body cam in that footage. And I'm realizing now that I had mispronounced it because I knew a German person named Matthias. It should be Matthias.
I will ping Cal like 6 money signs.
I respond with a do tell.
In person. And then the message is deleted.
Do I have time to swing by before my shift starts?
Yeah, this has taken Burn, a couple of hours, but it's still at this point kind of mid-morning, the notification having woken Burn up quite a long time before they would have otherwise roused. So yeah, you should have time to swing by. I mean, Tupper could beep you, so to speak, at any point, but so far has not.
I send a text on my way. On call, could be called away at any point.
Understood.
And then would obviously use a like a roundabout way of arriving, and then enter through one of the back entrances.
Mm-hmm.
I will hand you the thumb drive, which now contains not only the video file, but also both sides of the PSST conversation, as well as the recording of Tupper's voice just ambiently. But then I will play for you the video and highlight the time and date while, floating on another screen is news coverage of the student death.
You don't get through the entire video before I make a strange guttural sound and leave the room.
I close everything down as you do that. Like, shit, are you okay?
No.
This is now, for our listeners' sake here, given the layout of the frontispiece and the paucity of separate rooms in it, taking place in 8 feet away from where Gorister is working a soldering iron.
And imagine Stu easily trying to ignore.
Oh, has not given
stricken-
any indication that he is aware there are other people in the room.
That's how you make employee of the month after month.
Yeah. Employee of every month.
No, I've gotten one. It's on record.
It's on record. That's canon. Where am I while this is happening? Am I still up front in the frontispiece?
I would assume so. At this point, actually, in the morning, you've probably gotten a couple more visitors than usual as folks are sort of out and about more today than they might otherwise be on a class day. Some folks have taken a flyer, others have come in already aware and just been like, yeah, I'll be waiting around for a minute. So, and then, bought a paperback of, something kind of apropos to read. So yeah, you're not slammed, but you're in the front for this. So, I mean, jumping back in, we pick up on Cal's no.
Can you describe for me the shape of the problem?
I think the shape is a body bag.
In Morse code, I will tap out Tuppers or that kid?
Hopefully soon, Tuppers.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Nope. I think you think that I know more than I actually do. Which, like, is a thrilling estimation of my researching skills, such as it were, but you're operating as if I have information I don't. Yet, perhaps, but, like, you are always welcome to share what your deal is. If you want to.
He didn't seem familiar to you?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Adam, but he didn't seem familiar to me, yeah?
I'm not even sure I know who the he in this particular instance is.
The kid.
Presumably Matthias, then, Adam.
Indeed, yeah, no, I don't, I guess, know for sure that you've had a, like, labeled image of Matthias at this point to like, react to.
Yeah, no.
I have to go to work.
Sorry.
Me too.
In this pause, Cal, you will hear back from Ramirez, whose text reads, "Well, can't get you off the schedule, so unless you want me to get you fired," frowny face.
I respond with, "I'll leave the getting me fired to me. Thanks, though."
He sends back a little salute emoji.
Pretty much moments after you leave, assuming you have,
Mm-hmm.
I will just monosyllabic curses in like 7 different languages.
Gorister studiously ignores you.
Yeah, no, I'm wandering away from Gorister at that point to
Sure,
spare his ears and possibly sensibilities that he may or may not have.
Only Gorister knows.
And if Cato does not react to the polyglot invective,
I don't think Cato is in a place to hear the polyglot invective.
Depends how loud it is, I guess, but probably not.
Sure.
Which incidentally is my new, like, punk band.
No, I'm currently explaining to
That's a great name.
It's a really good punk band name.
Yeah.
I'm currently explaining to someone that, yes, smelling the ink is cringe. That's the point.
You're getting a sage nod back from a 19-year-old.
But then I am looking up who this kid was.
So, looking it up, this kid was a G-Pol student, somewhat obviously.
Right.
And you get that gives you sort of a wealth of information, given that you have not a whole lot of scruples about looking through
anything available,
theoretically secure G-Pol student records. You find that this was a seemingly very serious student in that took like a full course load, didn't seem to get into a whole lot in the way of trouble, was in the applied sciences, took a lot of classes with Professor Culex Entwistle, which is a name that you think you've heard before, and though not in anything particularly important. necessarily.
What a name, though.
And let's see. If you'll allow me to exercise a little bit of authorial control over your character's actions here, and do let me know if this runs counter to your intentions. One of the last things that you cross-reference here is the frontispieces own records. Here. There's no Matthias Zero, but there is a Matthias. Matthias Armitage.
Yet. Cato, you're page to the back.
Now, I know you don't mean it this way, but the very first thing that my brain came up with was like the boom boom in like a department store, and then
actually,
Cato Burke, please come to customer service.
It's not dissimilar from that.
Fair enough.
It is over the PA. It is official sounding and bland enough to, like, not arouse customer suspicion, per se.
Point of clarification. Cato, did you know there was a PA in your store?
Absolutely if you'd like me to roll for how poker-facedly I pull off hearing it for the first time, I can.
I think that's a character decision. I don't think that's a roll.
I definitely do a little jump, but then mostly eyebrows are raised after this. I finish the sale of the paperback quickly, if that is possible.
Sure, this person was going to buy How to Blow Up a Pipeline anyway.
Cool.
Nice callback.
Excellent. Yeah, very good. I usher this person out. I put up the out to lunch sign, lock the front door, and go to the back.
Yeah, so within about 120 seconds, Cato has arrived to Burns' little hackerspace.
You rang. Also, we have a PA. That's not really the most important thing right now. I have a feeling. What's going on?
I think I figured a variety of things out a bit too late.
Oh?
I think Tupper may have been instrumental in killing Cal's brother.
Oh, shit. Did Cal know that?
I don't know.
Oh, shit. Is Cal on their way to kill Tupper?
It didn't sound like that, but I can't have it completely off the table.
Okay. Good, I think. I mean, better to kill them together. This is a lot to take in. And what you found from the wallet thing, it was like clear. Shit.
I will play the video and highlight the news segment and the voiceover of Tupper for the voice comparison. Also, at this point, I'll check for any sort of obituary that Matthias may have had.
Mm-hmm. In checking for that obituary, you will come across, I guess, kind of like a few things. The obituary itself is very just short and straightforward, but there is actually other news coverage around the same time, not extensive, but it quickly becomes clear, even at a glance, that Well, I suppose it becomes clear if you are a news media skeptic that there is an effort to essentially justify Matthias's death. A lot of what is said is about playing video games, kind of implying a propensity towards violence. There's a couple of remarks about him being isolated. The phrase lone wolf comes up in one journalistic piece. There's a little bit of a shock, jump scare, I suppose, that one of the pictures used in one of these pieces has him carrying a frontispiece bag, something, Cato, that you haven't sold in a little while, but was sort of something you had a limited merch line when you were sort of first getting the store up and running. But in that photo, the jump scare is that you recognize the hoodie Matthias is wearing in that photo as one you've seen Eng wear. The last little detail that comes up is one of the pieces in talking about Matthias playing video games includes, somewhat suspiciously in terms of journalistic ethics, his gamer tag, which was Revenant, spelled with a 3.
Shit. It couldn't have been I sold that many of those bags. Do I remember Matthias?
Seeing his picture gives you a faint tingle of recognition, but this was not somebody that you dealt with frequently. Clearly came into the store, but was seemingly just one of the any number of students coming to get their textbooks who picked up the bag.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay. I wish this were such an anomaly that it jumped right out, but I mean, God, this kind of shit happens, doesn't it? Have you also seen Eng wear that hoodie? I think I've seen Eng wear that hoodie.
Yeah. Probably means
Yeah.
it came from Cal.
Yeah.
I should have thought of this before I had to break into your conversation to do it. But of course, one of the things that would be in the obituary is actually like the statement of like is survived by is a thing that's in obituaries quite a lot. It is noted the only relation that's noted is that he's survived by his mother.
Yes. Oh. Then.
Yep. Not a brother.
Not a brother. This does explain a lot. Much later than I would have preferred.
Yep.
Okay, so how sure are we that Cal is not on their way to kill Tupper?
At least 20%?
Okay. It's better odds than he deserves, but we should probably make a plan. I feel like a "you okay" text might be taken the wrong way right now. How do we play this?
I mean, they already stated when I asked that no.
Yeah, dumb question. Okay. I do message Cal. I say, I think we get it. Sorry if you didn't want us to, but what can we do?
I suppose it is worth letting our listeners know, Cal, where you received this message.
Yes. Currently on the way to police a protest.
Okay. Couple blocks away from your destination, then.
Yeah.
God,
Carry on.
the irony is fucking palpable.
A long enough period of time passes that it's not clear if you're going to get a response.
As we
But
wait, I say 30%, 40%.
eventually you get a few forwards. You're in this too. And then after a moment, it's followed by, we have to stop Tupper.
We're in.
You get a thumbs up emoji.
Oh.
Assuming that to be essentially where that conversation ends for now, I think it might be good for us to check in. Ing, what are you getting up to as we get into like the midday out to lunch period of the day?
Yeah, well, if I've done what I can for the time being in making sense of the information that we gathered in the tunnels, trying to use what traces we have to track down whatever was outside of my apartment, our apartment, I think by way of a break that's not a break, but just kind of shifting gears, where there is a protest that, is going on outside of the police department. And so it seems like it would be, if not hypocritical, then cowardly to let other people speak for me. And so I'm going to drop by and see what's going on and see what I can do to help.
Sure. I'll rule that it makes a good spot for a break because you're essentially letting some diagnostic tools run on what is a huge amount of information. And so there's not a lot you can do by being there. So you pack up and head out. Okay. And arriving, let's say, not that you'll know this specifically, but what will end up being 5-ish minutes ahead of Cal, you find that there are a couple of dozen people in a loose crowd, kind of doing what you might consider warm-up demonstrations for the real deal that's supposed to kick off in 4-ish, 5-ish hours. Folks who are there currently not outfitted with exactly a plethora of protest gear, but there are 2 signs and evidence. One just says justice for slag pie, and the other says free speech is not terrorism. And there's no exactly concerted efforts to be doing chants exactly at this point, but you do a quick count, and there are 3 more PSS officers than there are protesters at this point, standing shoulder to shoulder with sort of like riot shields on the ground in front of them. Not in full riot gear, because that's not something that PSS springs for, but in sort of their budget version of sane, standing there, alternately looking very stern and chatting with one another like they're waiting for a play to start.
Okay, well, I'll join whatever chants are going on. My presence is not subtle by way of kind of character development. I had, towards the beginning of my time here on the station, had more of a slumped kind of a posture, trying to make myself look smaller despite being 7 feet tall, and clearly some kind of a heavy frame. So yeah, I kind of stick out.
At the moment, there aren't other androids here, so you also stick out for that reason. Not a whole lot of chanting going on as yet. Some chatter among the protesters, and signs kind of leaning on shoulders. These are folks who have shown up early and are reserving space, taking the lay of the land, making sure that PSS doesn't like barricade the area ahead of the main event. You, upon your arrival, get some, how would I put this, comradely nods from some of the other protesters. For the first 5-ish minutes or so that you're there, you're just sort of introducing yourself, saying hi to folks who are kind of welcoming you, and then going back to whatever they were doing before. It's cordial, but not yet very organized. Cal, you are on your way to PSS HQ to sort of take up your afternoon shift here. But a block on from your last message from Cato, but still a block away from PSS headquarters, you hear a familiar voice. You hear Apatia calling out to you, saying, "Oh, good afternoon, officer. Are you headed to the protest too?" And she's like waving at you from like across the street.
I kind of do a double take and then wave back at her, but keep walking.
She like 1.4 times speed, walking speed for previously towards you to catch up to you, and says, "I didn't know that they let officers attend in uniform." Oh, you're on the clock.
Regretfully.
She nods solemnly. No, I get it though. I'd rather, I suppose, have you on duty than, well, I can think of some others. And she gets a little bit of a distant look.
I skip a step as she says that, but carry on like I was unaffected.
She doesn't particularly seem to take any notice, but continues to walk alongside you as though you are friends headed to the cafeteria.
The corner of my lip edges upwards, and I slow my gait slightly so she can walk with me.
She, walks the majority of the block, just sort of in, at the very least, what seems to be on her end, and you're the arbiter on your end, companionable silence. But before you arrive at the, sort of intersection that marks like your destination, she gently puts a hand on your shoulder to sort of stop you as she turns to face you, and it's up to you whether or not you allow this to happen.
I do.
But she holds up 2 fingers, and she says, "Okay, look, 2 things. First off, I'm really sorry about biting you the other day. I'm glad it looks like your augment has gotten fixed. I'll make it up to you at some point. I know you don't care, but
Don't worry about it, kid.
Yeah, I'm not worried. Anyway, second thing. Be safe." And then she gives you a big smile and heads to the gathering protesters.
Before she leaves earshot entirely, I call after her, "Be safe too. Keep them safe."
She, without turning around, kind of smiles over her shoulder and gives you like a emphatic little thumbs up.
A real life thumbs up emoji.
I mean, yeah, I guess. You are around 3 minutes early for the start of your shift, which means that Tupper is glaring at you from the steps behind the actual line of duty officers, as though you were late, which you were not.
I ignore him and just take up post next to the officers, hands on my right, shield looking out over the gathered protesters.
Yeah.
Likely, if I catch sight of him, I imagine he's still hard to miss.
Yeah. He's there.
I tried to contain a double take and then pull up my phone and just send "Go home, kid."
Probably Ing, you were sort of in the middle of a handshake with one of the other protesters who was there when you get a little message notification from Cal, and the message says "Go home, kid," which may be the thing that causes you to notice Cal's arrival.
I text back, "There's work to do here."
I send back a single word, "Please."
I sit with that for a little bit. I'm sorry, do I see Cal across the way?
If you look around when this message comes, yeah, Cal is not hiding.
Alright. If I make eye contact, that settles a debate that's clearly going on for Ing. He claps some shoulders in solidarity and steps back from the crowd.
Okay. Stepping back does accord you space to notice that the crowd is growing, not rapidly, but a pace, as sort of the lunch, kind of overlapping lunch times of students and folks who either don't have afternoon classes or skipping their afternoon classes are showing up. It's a slow acceleration of the rate of attendance here, and a few more "Justice for Slag Pie" signs sort of make their way in as you step back.
Also, it hasn't been mentioned since literally episode 1, but Ing does have a level in graffiti art and presumably access to spray paint cans. I would like to deploy the autonomous collective to graffiti some things at a reasonable enough distance that it might be outside of the police barricade. Justice for Slag Pie, free, the 2 imprisoned band members, those kinds of things.
Yeah, no, the autonomous collective gets to work. Ing steps back. I guess decent time to check in real quick with Cato and Byrne. You've had this conversation with Cal that's been over for, we'll call it, like 5-10 minutes now. So if there's anything in particular we're getting up to in that interval or getting up to after it, decent time to let us know.
I will ping Allie and Canby to let them know that I am interested, with a capital I, in dirt on Tupper.
Okay.
And will pay in favors to be determined.
All right.
I
both
will also mention to them that if they plan to go to the protest today, consider not being by the cops.
They will both respond in the affirmative to both of those things. Though neither clarifies whether or not they were intending to go to the protests themselves.
Yeah.
Cato, anything in particular?
Doing something similar with my network, and also specifically seeing if Bronwy has gotten back in touch.
Yeah, I guess I kind of overlooked. Bronwy probably would have gotten back to your middle of the night text, once she was up and going. But will I guess she'll let you know that she would actually quite like to go to this demonstration, but thinks it may be wiser that she not. And so her plan is to lay low.
Yeah, rule of thumb, if you're currently being invaded by goons, maybe you lay low. Fair enough. We'll keep you in the know either way.
Yeah, she sends you a gif from a 90s sitcom of a child pouting.
I have no response to that.
Fair enough.
I give her the last word, or, GIF as it might be.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, we are likewise pretty targeted, and I at least am extraordinarily recognizable. So
True.
I think we too are laying somewhat low. I do reopen the Frontispiece for business to minimize suspicion, since it is still business hours. Lunch is over.
Mhm.
I am going to find my way there, to sort of spectate from a basement's entrance.
Okay.
And I will
easily
be
enough to
tapped
do.
into all manner of cameras as well, and recording.
Though, of course, since the shop was open, if anyone asks, they were here the whole time, to coin a phrase.
Sure.
Yeah, I do let Kato know before I vamoose.
Mm-hmm.
Shortly after Byrne does head off to sort of survey was the word I was looking for.
Well,
This is more surveil than survey, let's be real.
Sure, both then. The demonstration here. Someone, Cato, that you have not really had a conversation with recently, but well of your acquaintance, shows up at the frontispiece. Professor Entwistle walks in and glares about the place.
just to clarify, we did not discuss this guy, me and Byrne.
Yeah, no,
I don't believe
I
so,
actually
no.
have no idea who this is.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. Professor Entwistle walks in, glares about the place, and then strides up to where you're standing, Cato, and says, "Can you believe that the university does not want me to go to the protest?"
What? But you surely have something to teach the kids. You've been going to these things since, time immemorial.
That's what I said. I suppose you're sitting this one out as well.
Yeah, not for lack of interest, just for, taking on a mentorship role, I suppose. Why did they say they didn't want you there?
Well, this one wasn't exactly spontaneous, and they, I suppose, predicted that I'd want to go. But they don't want me to antagonize that dime store Pinkerton.
Tupper. Yeah.
Who else?
No one. Everyone. Too many. But mostly him. Why don't they want you to antagonize? The guy's got a temper and he's an idiot, but why
Well,
now?
he works for them, and they seem to think that I'm unreasonable in some way in my interactions with the buffoon. Anyway,
Might be. Well, yeah,
I was
maybe what's called for, but I'm glad you showed up here if you couldn't be there. Can I help you with something, or are you just here to, justifiably howl at the moon?
vent mostly. I figured you also would have a reason to stay behind, and was in danger of wrecking my office if I stayed there.
Damage to innocent furniture, never a good thing. The kids know how to make a good flyer still. That's not nothing. I tap the remaining pieces of the stack.
He looks wistfully at the flyers. It's good to know,
So about Tupper,
Hmm?
I know you hate him, and look, you're a man of some taste, so that makes sense. But I don't know that you and I ever talked about why, like, specifically.
I guess maybe we hadn't. He trails off and then sort of straightens himself up and says, I mean, there are myriad reasons to dislike the man. He's jackbooted thug and petty tyrant and a egotistical, narcissistic... I already used buffoon, didn't I?
You did, yeah.
Boor.
Yeah, boar will do. Great, yeah.
What possible other reasons could we need?
I guess I was thinking those characteristics are common to a great many aspiring Pinkertons. I didn't know if it was less about, personal qualities and more about specific incidents. Teaching a while, one sees things, I guess.
Gives you a look and lowers his voice and says, well, I can trust you, right?
Of course, I say, almost affronted.
He nods and he says, suppose anybody would have said the same, but I do think I can trust you. It's just that, well, I had a student, you see. And, I mean, had you asked me, I suppose, the day before, I wouldn't have thought that this student was anybody particularly special, but the only student I've really ever had will die on me, and it was all Tupper's fault.
Wait a minute. Which kid are we talking about? Tupper's faults? Okay, hold on. I lock the door. We are once again out to blunch. There's a lot of blunching going on around here.
Professor Entwistle kind of looks around, following us and says, well, I'd hesitate to call him a protege, but Matthias Zero died when Tupper was in charge of the police response of the previous regime, and well, it was... The university remains completely agnostic on the matter officially, but it was Tupper's orders that escalated things.
Shit. That's well above standard thug behavior. Murder's not really too strong a word, honestly.
He nods. He says, I can't prove that it was Tupper personally exactly doing the physical actions involved, but I've always blamed him for it. And, well, I mean, it's personal, yes, but it's also, he was at fault for a horrendous, murder. I mean, there's no other word for it.
That's the word. Obfuscated by the structures of state. Look, we're both anarchists. We both get it.
He nods very emphatically.
God damn, you've been sitting on this for a while. I mean, look, not that you're shy about Tupper, nor that you should be, but, I mean, how the hell does this guy come to something like justice?
Professor Entwistle looks a little dejected and says, that I'm afraid I don't know. I suppose that I perversely hope that he sends out the tank today, because I feel like it would backfire on him, but I don't want anyone to get hurt by it either.
No, unless the backfiring is pretty literal.
He snorts a laugh. He sighs, he says, it's good to be able to just commiserate with someone about this. I should be out there. 15 years ago, I would have been out there.
I know. I'm glad you came here, if you couldn't be there. This is the second best place to be for, someone who gives a shit.
Yeah, well... He looks a little hopeful. He says, far be it from me to overdo anything, but I don't suppose you have brandy or something around?
I don't know if we've ever established that, do I?
It is entirely up to you.
Yeah, I'm going to say I do. Brandy or something.
Yeah, and or something comes out of the cabinet. This has been roughly simultaneous with some other things that have been going on here. So time dictates that we are winding down in our session here. So I think that what we will start to wrap up on is that the increasing trickle of people into this demonstration carries on apace. And in the time that it's taken for, for instance, Ing to turn his attention mostly to the autonomous collectives, pro-social vandalism, and for Byrne to get into position and, take up their self-appointed task, and for this conversation between Cato and Professor Entwistle to take place, the size of the assembled crowd has roughly tripled. Now got like a real stew going, if you'll excuse the turn of phrase. And it looks like this is going to be the trend that continues through the afternoon.
The more people that arrive, the tighter my fingers get on the top of the riot shield.
Mm-hmm. I think that's actually a really good image for us to, spool down until next time on is Cal's knuckles getting whiter and whiter on the riot shield. So there are a couple things for us to take care of here. For one, everybody gets an experience point. Party member goals have been afoot, so everybody gets 1 XP. And if you have cash on hand, we're going to need to roll for that, since we've had enough of a duration here.
We didn't draw attention to it on air, I don't think, but as a small business owner, I got 2 cash today for a current total of 4. So that's what's at stake.
Anybody who has cash on hand should roll a d6 and lose that much cash.
Okay.
If I don't have cash, do I have to roll?
You do not. You do not have cash. You have to roll.
I think I've got 2 cash, but that was as of episode 18, so some time has passed.
I don't believe you spent it on anything.
Okay. I lose 4 cash out of my 2 cash.
Then you don't go into negatives. You just lose the cash that you had. It doesn't go nowhere. It goes to like maintenance and utilities and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. I rolled a 3, so I now have 1 cash.
Okay. Yeah, you're, let's say, doing things like restocking after the textbook rush at the beginning of the quarter and things like that.
I also really want to know what the good professor knows, so I'm going to have to replace that brandy or something. So,
Indeed.
It reminds me it's always good to have something on hand.
Yeah, well tied in. So, that will conclude this session of Dice Punks. Thanks for joining us. I hope our players and listeners enjoyed it as much as I did, and that you'll join us again next time. If you're hearing us now, then you probably know where to listen to this, but we can be found almost any place one can listen to podcasts, as well as on the wider web at dicepunks.com, and on Tumblr and Blue Sky as at dicepunks. With that, I think we're ready to say farewell, so say goodbye to the kind folks back on Earth, players.
Thanks for listening, and as Cal's knuckles tighten on the riot shield, I don't really have knuckles to speak of in the traditional sense, so I hold a glass with great ease. But think about murder.
Thank you for listening, everyone. And I'm just sorry for any emotional damage incurred by this episode.
I'm not.
Thanks for listening, folks, and some knowledge is its own price.
Hear, hear. Well, we're always grateful for your time and attention. And I think a lot of problems in this world could be solved through honest communication. If we could just sit down with one another and be frank for just a minute, I think we'd find that we have a lot in common. For example, the fact that we are all named Frank.
I was waiting for that one. Nicely done, Nick.
Nicely done
you know
indeed.
me well enough to predict
I
that.
saw the punch coming, but it struck true.
Mm.
Yeah.
Still hit me square in the jaw.
Me as well. And as the poet once said, go and get your riot gear, swing your girly all around. We'll be dancing on the cinders as the town is burning down. Beloved listeners, thank you for tuning in. Stick around through the admin stuff for a Cato-log. The music in this episode, Augment or Die, is by Emerson Boatwright and our very own bookmonger, Drew. Check out their other work at the link in the show notes. Editing and our rad new cover art was done by Joanne, who's appeared on the podcast now and again. Check out her work around the internet where she goes by Anything Sows. Site design and graphics for DicePunks.com are by the one and only Officer Armitage, Robin. Hardwired Island is by Paul Macevic, Freya Erling's daughter, and Minerva Jondo. You can find Hardwired Island at etten.itch.io/hardwired island. Links to the system and authors can be found on the Punk Grimoire section of our website, dicepunks.com. Thanks so much for listening. If you liked what you heard, that's reward enough on its own, but if you're so inclined, you can help us out by rating and reviewing us wherever you listen to us, telling your friends who you think would like us to give us a listen, and even by heading over to our Patreon at patreon.com/dicepunks. We have fun rewards available to backers, including a patron-only Discord and access to Dice Peak's After Show for episodes 1.1 and following. Regardless, we hope you'll tune in again, and until then, remember, subtlety is for cowards.
Today it's going through old messages. The kind of stuff that I should definitely delete from an OPSEC perspective, but that I can't quite bring myself to. Things that could tie me to, well, for instance, I press play and...
I'm told that this will find its way to you, whoever you are, whatever you're calling yourself now. Well, good. That's the main thing, that you hear me out. You do owe me that much, I think. Can't possibly know. No, you do know how you've disappointed me, the fathomlessness of it. But what you can't know is that you already failed. You're young, idealistic, and you simply haven't lived enough to know that everyone comes around, grows up, learns what can change and what can't. Someday you'll never thank me. You wouldn't give me the satisfaction, would you? But you'll know I'm right, and I'll know you know it. I just want you to live long enough for that. You do owe me that much. Your mother died today. Well, she didn't die, but it was a close thing. This protest is a beast. You've seen the state of the stock. That in itself is violence. That is violence. She was weathering a damned siege, and her little... Whatever it is you are now. Whatever you've decided you've always been. You weren't here. You aren't here. Just come home, won't you? Before it really is too late for one or the other of us. Whatever sort of trouble you're in, you know damn well I can get you out of it. Give me a reason to get you out of it.
I really should delete this. I know I won't, though.
Hello and...